Thursday, March 15th, 2018. This is the Hingham Historic Districts Commission meeting. Thank you all for coming tonight. Before we get started, I just want to have mention a couple items. First off, in terms of voting members, tonight we have 4 voting members, but need to appoint a 5th. So I'd like to do that at this point in time for the evening. Ben or Thomas? Okay.
Whatever's needed.
Okay.
Yep.
In terms of the continuations, have both of you been to?
So I've been to all of them. I was just gonna recuse myself for the first one.
Okay.
I have recused myself previously when this was up on Main Street.
Okay.
With Warren and
Okay.
Robin Pelissier.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so you're out on that one.
I've been there for all the other ones.
Okay. All right. And Ben, have you been for all the
Yes.
other ones? Okay. So here's what I'd like to do then. Ben, could you cover the first 3? Be the 5th voting member for the first 3, and then Tomas, could you do the last 3?
Sure.
Would that be?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And then, if there's any other members that have a conflict or need to recuse themselves, this would be a good point in time for any of the hearings to mention that. Anyone? Okay. All right. So first off, we have 682 Main Street. You may recall that the Pelissiers were in was it a year ago? For additions and the garage. The garage has been approved, and we'd asked the Pelissiers to look into moving the current garage that's on the property now, and if that was not possible, to come back with maybe some guidance from a moving builder, and I think that's what you've done here with the letter. So if you want to take it away from here, welcome back.
Well, thank you. And thanks for having me. I'd like to first start out by congratulating our Citizen of the Year, Jane Carr. A well-deserved vote, well-deserved honor. Very proud to note Jane and the work that she's done here in Hingham. So the only thing I can update you with is that we have a garage that has a cement floor. It has been rotting and unattended to for a number of years. We asked a mover, someone that actually does move structures, to come over to see if that garage is indeed salvageable, and he indicated that it would not be able to be moved. So what we'd like to be able to do is take down the garage and build the garage to your specifications.
As they were approved previously. Okay. All right. Questions? Discussion? Commission?
I would just like to add that Mr. Gordon, Jim Gordon, came into the office to bring me his job quote, and he was very clear in saying that he would have to rebuild much of it, even the small portion that we identified as being possible to move. So I was quite convinced that it's not a possibility.
Okay. We all have, I believe, a copy of the job quote from Gordon Building Movers. Any questions related to that or to the proposed demolition here? Okay.
One question, sorry, in regard to any of the windows or doors, was that part of, I'm just kind of scanning this now, did we suggest saving any of those, right? So before it gets demoed, I just want to make sure if we ask that anything were to be saved, that it actually is saved and reused.
I don't
Don't recall, no.
Don't recall.
No.
No, we were just looking for that whole portion. So,
Okay, go ahead.
Any other discussion, questions? Okay. Someone like to make a motion then for the demolition of the garage that's currently on the property at 682 Main?
I can do that. I'd like to make a motion for a certificate,
of appropriateness.
it is certificate of appropriateness, despite the fact that it's a demolition.
That's-
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 682 Main Street to tear down, demolish the existing garage.
Second? I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, you got it. Thanks for doing the extra work for us and looking into that, and it's much appreciated.
Thanks for your help. Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Thank you. All right. I almost got us back on time. Next up, we have the councilmans are back. Sally Weston's here, the architect. This is for the continuation from last time for the construction of a garage on the property.
So do you need an easel? That, the metal ones are better. Yes. Where do you want to do it?
It's okay.
Apologize for not being here for the last hearing, but I did watch the video. Oh, into the mic.
How was your vacation?
It was very good. I don't really want to breathe on this because I have a terrible cold. I don't want to infect anybody else. Thank you. So I did watch the video, and so again, you know, just kind of going through the history of the project. You know, we came to you with this garage. It's 24 feet wide by 39 feet long, and I think, you know, from the beginning, I think we were trying to get the building to be a little bit, you know, lower. I mean, we did, you know, from the beginning of the design, we were looking at, you know, our inspiration really is from the existing garage. I think you have all these pictures in your packet, but, you know, this existing garage with its really very pretty bead details and the curved bracket, shingle brackets and things, that was really what we used as the inspiration for this new garage. We knew we wanted to add somewhat of a second floor on it, so we were putting these shed dormers in on it. Hopefully you can still hear me. And so if you remember correctly, what we started out with was, you know, a little bit taller wall, and we didn't have the eave running through. And then our second submission was that we brought the eave through, and we carried the wall about just a wall thickness back to have some roof line. In watching the last hearing, it sounded like you would like to, again, keep decreasing the size of that shed dormer. Originally, the windows were set at 6'6". And so I think, in listening to what everybody asked, is to bring the eave line down 6 inches and to bring that wall in more than it already was. So that is what we've actually done, is we've brought it down 6 inches. The windows are now set at 6 feet. And this is now set back, so these windows on the shed dormer get, a bit smaller. And you see a lot more roof along there. The height has remained the same. We were just playing with the shed dormer. And again, we always thought that, the shed dormer was very much like, the back of the house. This, the back of the existing house has the shed dormers very similar to this, sort of a low angle. So that's again where we sort of got our inspiration from, if you look at the gable here. So I know that you had suggested that, and so we have done that as you requested. I think we also, came up with a couple other scenarios just to, I know Hans said, some people come in with 3 or 4 options. Usually we're designing for the client, but, we did look at a couple other options. So rather than having the shed dormer, we looked at a hip here. There really aren't any hips on the house, but we looked at it to see. We're trying to keep the floor area. Then we also looked at, I think you talked about some sort of a gable coming out the side. So you can see that that would be this, and it's all in your packet, is that there would be sort of these little gables that would, a shed dormer would be tied to them. We kind of call them cat ear dormers, but so that would give you that sort of cross gable, whatever look from the side. I almost think this almost feels a little bigger than, something like this. But we did see, come up with some options to see if maybe that's something you would like better. Again, the height of the garage is the same, the eave line. I did want to bring this to, and I will pass this around, but again, we look at historic buildings for inspiration, not new garages. We look in old books. We look at the era of the house. And I'm going to pass this around. This is a house that is on World's End, but it's almost the exact same era as their house. This is their existing carriage house. We did a little work on this, but I think it's so interesting because it's so similar. Both these houses had Charles Everett work on them, believe it or not, a little piece years ago. And so I think that you can sort of see a very similarity between these buildings. I mean, there's a modern window that we didn't put in, but it's there. But, the sheds are kind of similar, has a similar proportion. This garage is actually quite a bit bigger. I don't think it appears bigger, but it is. It's another 5 feet wider, and it's about the same length, a little shorter. But I think you'll see that it really does have kind of similar proportions to this. And again, it was built around 1920. So that's really what we're trying to emulate, is something that would have been the appropriate time period, not something that is modern, but something that, is older and kind of, is complementary to the house. The ridge of this is about 3.5 feet lower than the back wing, and it is about 6.5 feet taller than the original garage, but, we are trying to keep everything under the eaves with those shed dormers or whatever dormers you choose. So.
Thanks, Sally. Thanks for doing those options, too. Appreciate it. Lee or Caroline, do you have anything to add, or anything from the audience?
We're just trying to be responsive to the sessions we've been sitting through and listening to you guys and taking the feedback and adjusting, our core concept, which we came to you with initially. Again, bringing some other options. But as we said, we're trying to stay within the keeping of the architecture of the home and the existing.
Thank you. All right, discussion? Who would like to start?
I'll start. I think the modifications that you've made to the shed dormer, I think, went in the right direction. I think while subtle, it just kind of brought the scale down a little bit, which I think was good. I think that shed dormer is a little more appropriate, I think, than the other options. I appreciate you showing those options, but I think these were some positive changes. I think it helps out the scale quite a bit.
I compared the new drawings to the previous drawings, and I have to say, I have to agree with Michael on this one, even though I was very much in favor of the previous garage and the way it stood. I think this is, I can see the improvement over the past. And I definitely think it should be the shed dormer over any of the other two options. I think scale-wise, I think it's very appropriate. That's
I think the changes were responsive to what the commission asked for, and it looks appropriate.
I would go with the shed dormer as well. I think that it really is more in keeping with the home and sort of has a reflection. And I think that the changes that you made, though seems to be subtle, has a significant difference. I think it really is a very compatible and congruous building, so I would support that. Where I don't think the hip roof wouldn't make sense. The other one is interesting, but not the same reflection. Yeah, not the same reflection of that house. Interesting and maybe appropriate in another home, but not for your home.
Ben?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Virginia?
I wasn't here at the last hearing, but I looked at the tape, and obviously the revised drawings, and I think that the shed dormer modification is important and the most relevant and perspicacious to the house. And I appreciate the work on that. However, I can't support, I understand that you need a garage that you have easy access to. I completely understand that. But I probably am most in favor of keeping the existing garage and accessing it through Miles Road as once was. I can't see tearing down a worthy structure for convenience when there's a little bit of a less convenient, preferentially, access, frankly. But that has nothing to say with how I think what has been done is a compliment to the house. Yeah.
I just would like you to understand that if, in fact, you did come in here, that this is their only, this property is a little different in that, our house isn't sitting way up here. It's sitting way back here. So the only yard that they have really is back here. So if, in fact, you would drive through here, you would have no yard left, really. And there is not enough room to turn around and even get out Miles, too. So there really is not enough backing up space. So it would be very difficult to do that. So I did want to say that.
Yeah, it never was there. So the driveway never actually was there.
It was never off Miles? Where was it off?
It was the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when the house was built, right, it was built, I'm sorry because we didn't catch you up on all the history because you weren't here, but did you do the walk through on site?
I wasn't there.
Okay. So the home was constructed in 3 parts. I don't know if you recall me saying that a couple sessions ago.
Yeah.
And the Burdett barn was pushed up and constitutes this far right side of the home. Charles Everett built the middle. So the home actually was originally constructed was this footprint right here. So to get in and have a circular turnaround and everything was all fine back then when this was originally built with this original part of the house. In the teens then, in the early 20s was when this connection came through. Charles Everett built this piece to connect the birded barn right here. That created the ingress egress problems. And with young kids now, 3 kids, they'll be trying to get out either way, to Miles or whatever it might be. We have no ability to actually turn around safely to get out on either street. So we talked about and had actually raised with Don Pitcher, who sits back here. And we knew that that comment came up at some point during the onsite, or was at least made in passing. And so we talked to Don about his, because he wrote letters in support, as well as our neighbors here, the Coles. So we asked what he would think if we were to actually consider, if the committee wanted us to consider that. And he said he would strongly oppose that because of safety issues that he perceives here, people really blowing through. And what you have is even a harder perpendicular line here with all the bushes of ours and his, where you can't really see. It's such a blind turn that he would have his own safety concerns in addition to not supporting it at all. So again, hopefully that just helps you understand how the flow of the home originally had been as to why they had the garage doors oriented this way. It wasn't as much of an issue when it was only this part of the home.
Yeah, now I understand.
And it increasingly got more challenging.
Also just wanted to mention, I believe we were approved to demolish at the last meeting.
I have a question about the windows. Are those simulated divided light or true divided light, or what are they?
Simulated divided wood, inside and out.
Have you thought about paint colors, or is that something you're still going to think about and maybe come back
Marry
later?
it to the house.
Back to the house?
I have a couple questions while Mike's looking through there. The World's End home, do you know the length of this garage? I think it's really interesting. What is? I know you said it was a few feet wider than what you're drawing, but it's if these bays are each 9 foot or so, it looks like it might be. Maybe it's 26, 27 feet wide, something like that.
No, it's only 2 feet shorter than the one we're doing.
So how about the length?
That's what I mean, it's 5 feet wider. That's
Yeah.
5 feet wider than what we're doing.
Okay.
And I think it's 2 feet shorter.
So it's 37 feet?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a one shed dormer
No,
garage?
it's both. There's one on both sides.
Is there one on the other side too?
Because we added that one.
Okay. Are these dormers, are they positioned a little bit differently on the roof than yours in terms of the scale and how they're?
Pretty close now in setback. I mean, our window sill heights are getting pretty high now that we're pulling the walls in, that foot.
The only thing I'm concerned here is that these, the shed dormers give an appearance of a kind of a squatter, a flatter roof, because they're fairly dominant in this depiction here in this model, and the rest of the house has got a different pitch. If I'm looking at it from the.
I wouldn't think so, because this dormer, actually, if you look at this dormer, my model is starting to fall apart, but if you look at that dormer and you look at this dormer, they're very similar.
I'm looking at it from the front, yeah.
Well, yeah, but I'm looking at here, and then I'm looking at this dormer, and the shallowness of these are very similar. We were trying to kind of complement those.
And that's what you see as approaching the home from Miles, from Fairing to Miles. Miles, that's what you capture in terms of your viewpoint of our home. That.
And the only other question I have is, I'm wondering from a zoning perspective, and I know you've got the neighbors that have signed off on this. If the garage is a little bit shorter in length, that you don't have a setback issue. You kind of work with you work with a footprint that's more like 25, 26, 27 feet long and 24, 25 feet wide or so. Is that something that's, and then the scale of this changes a little bit differently, and the shed dormers change a little bit differently?
I don't think I mean, we're looking to have a two-car garage with some storage in the back, 'cause they don't have a lot of basement or anything, so that was the reason that we made it a little longer. And we do want to keep it, there's a stone wall at the rear of the existing garage, and we're trying to keep it on that stone wall. The neighbor would prefer that. You know, and I
We
hope
would
that-
like to,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
particularly unique, and we'd like to be able to do it.
Okay. Good. Questions?
Actually, one for Andrea. Did we approve the landscape last time, too? Part of the original?
Make a motion?
Yep. I'd like to make a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 63 Lincoln Street for the construction of a two-car garage based on drawings dated March 9th, 2018. Specifically, option 1, which indicates a shed dormer. All exterior materials are to be wood, windows, painted wood to match existing house. Windows are to be wood simulated divided light. Roof is to be cedar. That's it.
Second?
And we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed.
Abstain.
Okay. You got it.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Well, yeah, you can ask. Mr. Chairman, we have a question here.
Yes.
Sally, that's yours?
No, we brought...
No, it was here. That's yours.
I don't think we can change the order just because of how the agenda's set.
Okay.
So we have to stay with the agenda.
You know what? Yeah, we can push that back a little bit, and push it forward. Okay. So, much better.
Somebody else's 100 Main by mistake last time. Does that look like your writing? Recommendations there?
No, doesn't look like me.
No?
On this particular project, my draft didn't have the internet or power for a long time, so I got these today. These are the 3D drawings of the project.
We're doing the...
Thank you. I ended up with two.
I think they're actually on the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we just can't change.
I
it.
sent them to her today.
Just looking over at Jess's.
Not yours.
That's not mine. No,
I walked away with somebody else's comments.
I know the notes I make on
I
this.
can get it.
You will? Okay.
I'll get it. You want me to bring it out?
It's like the little stepchild.
Monica, you have a PowerPoint?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
So this is the PowerPoint that we had last time too, to familiarize everybody. And this is, we put the proposed and existing together on the piece of paper, which is what you asked, instead of having both proposed and both existing.
Thank you for doing that.
That's okay.
It makes a lot of difference.
That's
Very
okay.
helpful.
That's okay. And then we actually had it done 3D. And the only change that has been made since the packet that you have, and is that those, and she doesn't know that you can see this from the street. This is not the driveway side of the street. This is the opposite side of the street. The proposal to have the 5 windows at the kitchen sink, because that's where those giant glass doors are that look at the rock that she really loves. So she really wants to have as much light as she can in there. So she wanted me to switch them. I think there were originally 3 windows. We changed them to 5 windows. And we changed the 2 windows up above that were smaller windows from last meeting. And you guys suggested or thought that it would be more in keeping for those bedroom windows to become the same size as the other windows. We changed those. We changed the small window in the master bath too. We brought the roof down in the master bedroom area. We did not bring the roof down in the area behind it because it's 7'6". It's not very high in there, and it didn't seem like it would work. We brought the roof down. And then we did the model that you guys wanted, Andrea. So the homeowner did this, and she was very frustrated with it, but I think it shows great effort, so I wanted to bring it.
Wow.
Yep. And the part that was super hard was the roofs. So you have a top-down view of the roof in your packet. This section of this roof is confusing. Remember that this area right here already exists, and it's the one with the triple 6-foot sliders. So that's eliminated, and this is where the kitchen is, and here's the master bedroom. This is all existing. This roof is down from this roof, and this is the roof that you suggested I might try to bring down, and it's down from this roof, which is down from this roof. So I think I think it's helpful, actually. This was the original window that was on the original last, the triple window here, that we changed to the 5 on the back. It looks better from far away. I think that's good. All right. Last time we thought that original window should be changed, could be changed to a double hung for means of egress for the firemen or for the children, and that window we'll use somewhere else in the home.
Good?
Thanks.
Any other comments? No? Open up for discussion?
Monica, you may have mentioned this in the last meeting, but if you could please confirm the pitch. I think you're calling it the master bedroom there in the back. Do you know your...
Yes. I think that the pitch is not the same as the pitch on the side gable of the house.
Okay.
But that's because it's trying to span that whole area where the triple sliders are now, to get that width.
Yeah.
If the pitch matched, which I think it was on the original drawing,
Yes.
it was too tall. So you
Right.
guys wanted me to bring it down. So to bring it down, the pitch changed and became wider.
Do you know the pitch number?
I don't.
Ben, you have some other?
I do. So the trim details on the addition is the intent, I don't have any numbers here, is the intent to match?
Match existing.
Okay. And then what about this, the eave detail? You've got a front gable.
You mean on the original house?
Right, you've got quite a bit of detail there. Is it your intent to put it on the
Yes.
additions?
Yep.
Okay. No further questions.
I appreciate the level of, with the 3D models and,
Effort?
yes. I was going to say detail, but that was going to be in my question and my comments later. It's the, and I think it helps tell what's happening to some extent. However, it's not telling the entire picture because the rest of the house isn't shown, which I think, right, isn't there a small garage that's all connected and it kind of tells the entire story? So while this tells some of it, it doesn't tell all of it. And I think with the addition of these pieces, I know there's a first story there and it's all connected. It's hard to see the mass of all of these, there's sort of three pieces to it. There's the front, the middle, and the rear portion, to be able to tell the entire picture.
I know what you're saying, but I think that the scope of the project for the drafting and for what's going on in the project doesn't have anything to do with the garage. I understand what you're saying, but you cannot see the garage from the street.
You can, if you drive, you can see all of this.
I try to see all the time whether she's home or not. I can't see the doors of the garage at all.
It's part of, it's part of the,
I will add it. I will definitely have it added, but it's a 1.5-story, 2-car garage, which is even further back than this proportion. I thought that the reason why you wanted the model, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that to show that this particular section is not as forward as this section, right?
right,
And then this next section is even further back.
right, but it's to see all of the pieces.
Okay.
Cohesive project.
Okay.
And I think I would just, echo Ben's comments in regard to details.
Sure.
The drawings are pretty basic and tell a general sense of size and scale, but, while we can say it's going to match existing, I think there's a certain level of detail that needs to be done in regard to the eaves, sort of the window casings and things like that.
Okay.
Which I think are going to, can obviously make or break
Sure.
the project.
Okay.
I want to ask Mike and Ben in particular, typically we see the original house, we see a drop down for, the addition, and then if there's a third addition, we see another drop down, with just this kind of subordination all the way down. And I know the pieces of this has come together at different times, but do you feel this is a little bit weighted towards the back still, where there's, and I don't know if it's possible to correct it through the ridge lines here, where this one's a little bit higher than this. This seems to be, in terms of the mass, it still seems to be heavy versus up here. And maybe there's a way to make it so there's just kind of a step down as you go to the back of the house. So maybe we can, this house will look more like these additions were put on over time. I know they weren't, but it feels like we've got a connector here and we're connecting two houses, basically, to me.
That's what we have now.
I know.
2 houses and a garage. And I think to your point, I think if you kind of just chop that off right? You kind of have these two pieces, and well, maybe that's okay.
Yes.
But knowing that there's another piece that's attached to this, to be able to do what you're suggesting, it's hard to tell without that other.
Right. So maybe that'll give us some more visualization, but just, you know, even if I look at this part up here seems to be, there's something going on here that maybe we can improve on. It's tough to say, and I know there's some room configuration going on with,
It isn't really about the room configuration. The house, the middle section of this house, which drops down lower, then makes the next section look higher, that's over all those sliders currently.
right.
The width of that room is that it's a very narrow room, so if you try to make that room feel smaller, it's already really narrow. It's only as wide as the kitchen can be. So it's the section in the middle, I think, that's already constructed that's making you feel like that, with this brick column and this bay window and things that aren't really with keeping with the house. And then the garage, I understand, and that might actually help what you're saying, because the garage is even lower over time. But over time, they didn't usually have these big connecting pieces. You know, you had a house and then you had another house come into it, you know, that whole big house, little house, back house, barn. But this, you have this section that is part of the original house and definitely was an add-on that's not very attractive. I can't really fix that. I'm glad it's set back from the other two. I actually think it's a big improvement from how it looks now. I think if you do the two-car garage on the drawing and it's lower, it might help, but the house is always going to be a super long house. And the connecting piece where it is now makes no sense, and I understand why it was done, but it's not attractive to the house itself or to the period or to the historic nature of the house. So although it's tricky, we brought this roof down, which I think helps your point, Hans, that, you know, there's the main house that's bigger and then it steps down and steps down. But there's no way to make that even smaller, because it's going to start to look like it's with this middle section that's basically poorly done.
Maybe this portion can be a little bit smaller, maybe.
That's what I'm telling you, we already lowered it.
Maybe-
It's a
maybe-
master bedroom, and we probably should have gone in. It's not it looks like a big box here, but it's actually narrow, because the ledge is right behind it.
What if this facade was a little bit more narrow? To match, to draw from this, you know, this gable here. So if this was a little bit more narrow maybe, and pick up some of the scale and symmetry with that one.
I mean, it would feel more narrow if the pitch was higher. I can't really make that portion of the house narrower. It already exists. You know, that's the existing room with the sliders. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I thought that was a part of the demo that you were proposing.
I'm proposing to get rid of the slider area, but it's on a slab and it backs up to the ledge. So I can't really change the dimensions of the house per se, I don't think. I think it would be super difficult to do that. I'm perfectly willing to try to do whatever you think would look best. I think it looks better coming down. I understand that this particular drawing too, even though it's 3D and isn't that helpful, it makes this section right here look much wider than the original house, which I understand is a no-no, but that's the space of the house. If I made this section smaller and tried to add on to this section in the middle, this section in the middle, where this door is basically a hallway. So, and if I did that, and I made it more hallway-like, so that this part got smaller, so it was more like this,
Right.
then they're not going to have a big enough room for a kitchen, so they're not going to be able to do it. They just won't, you know what I'm saying? It just won't work. And it isn't about the kitchen. What do you do with that space?
Well, so to that point, in this piece in the middle that we're talking about, it looks like on the floor plan, proposed floor plan is that there are 2 windows shown, but they're off to the left. Not, so there's one sort of in the center, and then there's one to the left of it. Whereas that's not consistent with what?
Let me see. Wait. The floor plan.
You're looking at A2 and A3, right?
Yeah, well, essentially just A3, so if,
So 3 windows?
so this one here, proposed first floor plan, there's 2 windows here,
Yeah. And it's-
which are kind of in the center and then to the left, whereas this is
You don't
showing
appear
two
to line up with the windows above, right?
So there's 2 windows, right, and that bump out. So this one looks like it's about in the center, and then there's one to the side of it. Whereas this shows these 2 small windows centered. Right? So these don't align with what is shown here.
I think it's because on the.
But even on your-
I have that as a, I have this printed,
You know, right here, it's the same. They're centered.
so do you want me to spread them out? I think that would help.
It's not necessarily, I mean, it's showing accuracy, and sorry, I don't mean to derail your comments, Hans.
I was looking for some architectural guidance.
It's just,
I think to Hans's point, you have a narrow-bodied house. The original structure is a narrow-bodied house. And I understand you're working with somewhat of an undesirable canvas here in between. But the resulting width does not match, is not in keeping with the original style of the home.
Any suggestions?
Well, so we're a design review.
I understand.
Perhaps something can happen where you give the appearance, I understand you're dealing with an existing footprint. Perhaps you can have less second floor. So the first floor obviously is the same width, but you've created something narrower here, maybe a relief in peaks like you have here, a relief in the gable end. You do something similar there.
I mean, would this work without a gable in the middle, or would that just be too long? Tough to say.
yeah, I think something to break up that length is probably.
Is this dimension here
Yeah.
greater than this dimension?
This dimension,
Yes, which is greater?
this or this?
This width here or the ridge line, the ridge length?
The ridge length is shorter.
It is.
Yeah.
What if it was connected instead of turning in like this? I'm just thinking back to Sally's drawings earlier. If you did 2 small dormers with a connecting shed dormer in between, that would get rid of that whole height right here. I'm just coming up with another idea.
That was the cat ear dormer design.
Correct.
Yeah,
That would take off
right,
that height. And then
right,
you
that
would
could,
Well, I think
That could really help.
what Ross is saying is
have- You'd be able to like do the same.
You would change, you would basically rotate this gable to the back. And then obviously to get your headroom, you need some
But it-
dormers in there, shed dormer.
it seems plausible.
Do we have any Italianates in town where we've had long additions?
This is very unique.
Have we seen, is there, I mean, the one on Main Street up, it's not that long.
I mean, this addition.
The one that you had worked
This addition
on.
that's before
Yeah.
was approved. It went
No, I
before
know.
historic.
No, yeah, first floor, right. I understand. But now we're going higher and we're adding mass, so we gotta do our best we can with
I
it.
understand, but it's.
This
that's
is
what's
unique.
making it so
Yeah,
long.
is there anything, no.
Across from the buttonwood tree, there is an Italianate on Levitt, the beginning of Levitt.
Oh, yes, but that
It's not,
is,
it's a small house.
it's
It's not as long?
No, it's not. And the garage isn't connected.
I'll just work on it.
I didn't get to you guys really, except for, I just want to make sure we're giving Monica enough here to
I'll just work on
thoughts.
it.
And I think Mike is correct that we'd like to see the rest of the structure depicted.
Because I think that it might help
It might help.
what we're talking
I agree.
about here, because you're bigger, smaller, and then smaller, and it's this progression.
And I understand what you're saying about the center section, and I think that the actual 3D drawing, which I was so excited to get, actually makes it more stands out more than when it's even 2D.
Well, but it's good because it shows reality
Yeah, I understand.
to a certain extent. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
so
not
I'll
looking
have
at-
that put on there, and then I'll see if I can come up with any idea about how to,
How about, is it possible to separate the garage from the main house? Because it's,
because there's a family room there with a wet bar and everything, and a guest room and an office, and that's, they have a big family, that's their,
in the garage area? Or-
yep, it goes garage, and then there's a room in front of it.
Well, I'm just wondering, between the garage and that room, if you had a,
It's a room, there's no space. You walk into the garage, right into this room that was built that has like a wet bar, and it's a family room, and there's a guest room there.
Yeah, that entire addition was handicap accessible.
right. Okay.
Monica, so you're on your elevations, if you wouldn't mind, please, just to try to give us an idea of the differing ridge heights. That's important, and then an accurate pitch. It looks like the front might be a 12, this gable. But how does that relate to the existing? Yeah, just some call-outs for us.
Yeah, and I think, right, to the point of the details and things that Ben's, I mean, I think it's just the way that these are printed, it's kind of blurry and black and dark, and, I know in reality, that's not really what's there, but it's,
Put a black window in there.
no. But it'd be nice to see what the details are,
Okay.
and I think that's consistent with the other sides, too.
And I question the scale.
Okay. Well,
I think this gets
it
crunched.
does get crunched when you print it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets crunched when you print it.
So the scale for us has to be accurate on whatever you print.
Right, so it was a bigger drawing that got shrunk, so the proportions of the whole thing.
It just throws us.
Are you suggesting 11 by 17?
Yeah, because I think it's just
11
the
by
format
17.
when you shrink it is.
Fine.
And I think, stretching that to show the elevations, obviously.
It actually might help.
I honestly think it might. I think because then it starts to show that progression as it gets smaller.
I don't think she can handle building it now.
Well, please tell her that this is helpful.
Yeah.
Despite her frustration, that's helpful. We appreciate it.
It's fine.
No, she should know that that's helpful. Thank you.
I think, I don't know what others think, but I don't know that you need to put her through
No.
more on that. I think if you just
Volunteered.
update this.
Well, you know what, this part isn't bad, this part isn't bad, but what I didn't realize is when you look top down at a roof, even on 24 by 36, and you cut it out, it doesn't fit because it doesn't show
correct.
that it's going up and down, so that's what was so frustrating to her.
It's just line drawing, yeah.
Yeah.
So she can leave the model as is?
In my opinion, I don't know what others think, but I think this is
Yeah.
sufficient.
Okay.
I don't want to do that again.
All right, this goes away. I'll go back to the drawing. No, I'll just do that. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Monica?
Yeah.
So we're continuing.
Okay.
I'm asking.
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay, Monica, if you wouldn't mind just signing this extension. Because otherwise we have to vote it. And I'm in.
The packet, winter break,
Yeah.
Struggled a little bit to pack it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're glad to
Hi,
have
good,
it.
how you doing? Thank you, same here.
Okay,
you.
moving right along, we have the Sprangers are here at 100 Main Street. Monica's
Thank you.
also doing the architectural work here, so whenever you're ready.
Thank you. That's great. Oh, good. I just brought this scale.
That's nice.
Great.
We like that.
Yeah, it has the foundation plan and so forth on there.
Oh, do you need help with that? Oh, you got it. Okay.
Thanks again to be with family right now, so we appreciate you coming here to help keep Hingham
Must be a
looking the way it does.
strong issue. Yeah.
So a few things we did in this PowerPoint is we wanted to take pictures from a lot of different angles, to give you perspective, because that hill is a little strange. Angles from the church, angles from the cemetery, so there's a bunch of photos here. I'll go through them relatively quickly, but if you see something you want to stop and take a look at it. So if you're looking straight onto the house, that blue arrow on the left of the house, on the left picture, is the stake, so that would be the far side of the garage. And then stepping back further, you see where the bell tower is and where you enter Ship. Walking further up the road, there was a question, can you see it from Main Street as you're walking from downtown? And then you'll see there's quite a hill there, so the garage will be, we think, completely occluded. So now I'm up on Ship Church. I'm standing right with my back to the bell tower on this right photo. And on the left, I'm just sort of behind the bell tower from Main. And as you can see, here's the existing garage is right here. Here's like Stuckey's garage, and obviously our home is here. And you'll see some property lines coming in. Coming further back, we're almost up against the fence in this photo on the left. That's the cemetery. And in the photo on the right, I'm actually in the cemetery looking at the back of my property line. So you can see there's this massive hill there, so from the cemetery you won't be able to see the height. We're guessing the height of that hill is probably 50 feet. The cabin arrow drawings can lay out the... All right, so the photo on the left, taking some advice from this group, we moved the garage. Oh, look at this. Nice. We moved the garage another 2 feet closer to the house, which puts that back wall down to 6.7 feet on the current elevation from cabin owner's drawing. This other image here sort of depicts how we slid it forward from where you initially saw a stake when you did the site visit. So now if we're up on top of the hill, right on the property line, you can look down and the blue arrows depict where the stakes are for the now new garage. And then here I'm kind of just showing you the slope of the hill on the right. All right, so this is looking sort of from the existing garage up the little hill towards the bell tower. You can see these back stakes are quite a bit lower in elevation than where they were before. And then on the left here, I'm standing in my driveway. This is the existing little piece of rock wall that'll stay, and that's where the garage. So we checked with zoning, we talked to Emily, and so the church is privately zoned, and so there is no public walkway. The only thing that's zoned is obviously the cemetery is a public space or a open space. I think it's open space is what Emily had told us. So that was one of the questions we wanted to answer. So if you measure from the property line to the little house, there's no laser on this one? The little
No, it's not a
entry to
laser, it's just
the,
a-
no laser?
No.
You can, we looked at it, and it appears that the garage will stick out 9 feet if you're looking square from the street. So just tried to Photoshop that in to give you a depiction of how the garage, what would be seen from Main Street. And we gave you two different options of the front. The top one is the newest drawing that we did with a single window versus the double window on the bottom. We prefer the upper one, but, you know, looking at the house, we thought we'd give you a little view of the differences. Okay. So this is what I believe we have in these big drawings. So maybe we'll sit here for a second. The upper left is looking from the cemetery, so the very rear of the garage. That black line is where Cavanero thinks the line is going to be. And then on the bottom left, you'll see the line of where they think the elevation works out. And then we couldn't do it on this drawing, but it would be that field stone veneer that's on the right. So it's the same. If there is a little bit sticking out, it may just be minimal, but that's what we're depicting. And then I did give you some details on the trim. That came later in the packet. And there's a letter from Cavanero discussing, we asked them flat out, is this going to put at risk the bell tower? And so you can see that they explained. Here's the floor plan. You asked to see the floor plan in the last meeting, so we did the floor plan. It's pretty much my office and my gym. That's what we have right there. The other thing, this is the foundation specifics. You have that in your packet as well. We're going too fast? You guys okay? All right. Just to remind you, that angle of our property line behind that existing garage, there's the existing garage that we got clearance to demolish. We haven't yet done that. And this is the landscaping plan. So I wanted to look at, you asked to see this. So what'll occur is this is where the fence goes right now and stops at the existing garage. So we're just going to continue that fence straight. And then when we do the foundation, we're just going to put, this line is off a little bit from Lisa. It's actually going to be about a 3-foot wall that's going to connect us across to hold that hill back a little bit so there wasn't any future potential erosion. And then there's a little fence that connects the house to the garage with a little gate. There's Main Street here. This is the existing rock wall, so nothing's new. It's actually been cut across about right here, as you saw in those pictures. Lighting, potential lighting choices, potential overhead door options. And, Andrea, I know you and Erin spent a bunch of time on this. We like that color, actually. That's great. It's like that home that you got down the street. So we changed the green to a different green. Patio. Some of the details of where the will go. And then the last thing, since we're here, the driveway was asphalt. They put gravel on top of it. We were hoping to see if we could pave the driveway once we're done with those.
So I had a question on the 9-foot that's able to be, the 9 feet of the garage that's able to be seen. If you did 2 windows or 1 window, which, is there a difference in what can be seen?
It doesn't appear, because you look at the specifics actually on that, it doesn't appear you'll actually see either of the windows.
Okay.
The 2 windows, it's close. Like, I think you would see at least that frame. It's tough. I just kind of measured and,
You roughed it,
tried to
yeah.
depict it. It looks like about 9 feet.
Yeah,
That
right.
you don't see the entire garage.
You go at all? Okay, thank you.
And it actually looks taller in this than it really is. I tried to shrink it further, but
Do you know the roof pitches on the main house, how they match up? Is there any sense, Monica?
I think it's 10-12. I think it's 10-12.
Are they the same as the
I think it's
garage?
Yeah.
didn't show anything like he was trying to match that.
Yeah.
It's tricky to...
Because the pitches on the drawings look like they're steeper than the 10/12.
I think that it's the same issue where I had this done at Staples and it's on.
And it squashed it.
But that, there's a big architectural plan.
So just to your left, Justin.
Remember the garage dimensions, so the side elevations will look like that.
All right, that.
Maybe that's what's doing it?
Yeah.
That's what did it.
Yeah, and the one or the two windows, sorry, Veronica, you know, were indifferent.
Right.
We thought maybe one would bring more light in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that makes a good difference.
I gave them all a copy of the
Okay, yes.
and Cavanera's letter.
Okay.
And
Just in case.
No.
So our intent on the trim, because you asked for a trim detail, so we brought that in. The finished carpenter drew that for us. They went out to the house. The box detail, as I'm going to call it, at the top, on the top section where the top gable is, also at the top of that has the wooden gutter as part of it, where the two windows are right below it. And then the bottom band from the turret on the first floor over to say where the front door is, that's a different detail. So we thought that we would match the details at the bottom of the gable and then on the band at the house. So I had those drawn by the finished carpenter. What they, you know, as close as they could get it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Monica, do you mind, could you just go up and actually point? I didn't catch
sorry.
all of that.
This detail here is actually kind of a box that sits out. It's deep. And so I thought that might have been, when I went back and we looked at it, took pictures and brought it to the carpenter's attention, this box has a piece of wooden gutter that's part of the top of it, that's a detail in some of these type of houses. The house on South Pleasant Street had the same detail, and we had a little bit of a problem with the gutter, because it had the wooden gutter is intricate to the trim.
Right.
So that's what the first drawing is. It's a box detail, I'm calling it, because it's deeper.
Okay.
I think it's an 8 by 10, it sticks out 8 inches on a 1 by, And then this one right here, this band is just like a 1 by 8 with a piece of crown and has a flare detail at the bottom of this, like has some sheathing to make this slight flare from this to here. So I thought that's what we would replicate on the garage.
So this is intended to match that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
What's the size of the window on the front of the garage?
it's in one of the drawings. Which one was it? That big one? Maybe the other one.
Let's scale.
5 feet wide by...
Looks like makes much noise, yeah.
Is there anything on the house
It's
that...
written on one of the...
Yeah,
So this is 5, the big one's 5,
5 tall.
yeah. 5 wide,
4'6" wide.
yep.
4'6" wide, 5 feet tall.
Is there anything on the house that's similar, or what's...
Yeah, if you look at the picture, I think the side windows, you can't, the one that's right above the little patio, that's, I think, the same size.
I think I have, oh, it's dark.
That's the one we're
It's
trying
the
to
same,
mimic.
yeah. There's a window
Off the back?
on the side over this patio.
I think it's in the
That's the
packet I just
same.
gave you, the two loose leaf sheets.
We can't really see that window from the street.
Yeah.
How about the rear windows? What was the,
The smaller windows?
yeah. I mean, you've got some kind of, there's,
You know, it's this window right there.
Oh, well. The RO of this window looks to be about 3 foot wide by 5.5. The smaller window. the taller windows. So the two windows that are, if you prefer the two windows, and again, I don't know if it's up to, if you can't see it from the street, I don't know if it's the Spranger's decision or you guys have an opinion, but this window here is approximately the size of the skinny window. The window that's fatter is on the side of the house over the porch. Both of those window sizes exist, that what they all have in common is this design around the top sash.
It'd be interesting to pick up, you know, kind of the size and scale of what we can see from the street, maybe
Yeah.
on the garage itself on the front.
Whether one or two windows.
I don't
Yeah.
think you can see either of the windows from the street.
The last PowerPoint has those side windows perfectly.
I think if you look at an angle down your driveway, you probably can see the garage more.
Yeah.
I mean, head on, definitely, you know, won't see
I think
much.
we have the
but
picture you're looking for. It was in the last.
I know there's a little bit of a hill there, but I'm just suggesting maybe you do it with two windows.
That way it all looks symmetrical.
Try to pick up the scale of the front facade or the side facade you
Yeah.
can see from Main Street. It might,
They look match better. Yeah. All the way in the very.
Proportionally, that one big window is, you know, it's too wide for its height.
Oh,
The majority of the windows on the house are all vertical.
Can't quite see
You
it.
could also make the argument that the windows in the gable on the front being two.
The window I'm trying to show you, and the one right above the arch there, that's, I guess it's still quite vertical. Or
Yes.
maybe it's the angle.
yeah, maybe try to get them a little more vertical.
Or just do the two
Or
windows.
just do the two.
Yeah.
Just do the two.
The example with the two is probably
Yeah.
We're
correct.
indifferent.
The
so-
two would echo the front of the house.
My whole point with the one is I wanted a big window to put a big Christmas light in. Because I love Christmas. And so that's why we started entertaining the one.
Her first Christmas there, I don't know if anyone saw it, but the Christmas tree and the turret on the first floor was beautiful.
You can put a couple wreaths on those windows.
I know, I wanted a big star.
Your question, I guess?
You mentioned bringing the structure forward. Is there a reason why you chose to do that?
Well, initially when you came to the visit, you kind of thought maybe it looked like a hobbit house because it was pushed so far back in
Right.
the hill. And then there was the back wall, I think was 11 feet. That makes it a little challenging. So we wanted to get it down to a standard 8-foot
Got it.
back wall.
Okay.
So bringing it that much forward gives us, you know, almost a foot and a half of safety.
What kind
That
of,
wall is,
what kind of distance are you from the back of the house to
we
the...
have a narrow draw. It's 20-some feet, not the
Okay.
radius of the
Yeah,
way.
20 feet anyway, okay.
We were measuring, trying to make sure that worked.
Where is this detail? This one's different than this one. Is this
That's,
sort of beyond? Like,
No, that was his first sketch.
That was the first
This is
sketch.
the final. That one's the final.
so this is,
Sorry.
Yeah.
this is nothing? This is
Yeah,
not
well, I
relevant?
made him go back because he didn't do this one. So then when he went back, he did this as his final.
Okay.
So the level of detail in these drawings are excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
May I have that first page?
Any comments?
Monica, do you know what the height difference right here is? The cross cables?
They're below it. It's below it. The cross cable's below it.
By how much? What is the total height of the garage?
It's right here. The total height of the garage,
23.8.
23.4.
Height difference?
And the height difference? I would say just, I mean, I can. Okay. I definitely won't be needing that. I would say.
A foot?
Quarter inch. Yeah. This is the side to the front.
Do you want some more light, Monica?
See that?
Thomas, do you want some more light?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would say it's pretty similar to the distance from the, it looks to be pretty similar to the distance from the ridge to the distance of the first gable on the side. It's about a foot, it's not very much. Here.
Mike and Ben, how do you feel about the cross ridge on this versus the house itself? The house has got some high.
I'm struggling with the belt, which is directly above the overhead garage doors. What it's doing is it's creating a squat structure. This portion here is, to use Mike's term, it looks like it's top-heavy. You've got a cap.
So you'd like to see a little bit more verticality that is parallel with the main house?
Why don't I just move it up?
Eliminating the belt entirely. This does not need to match the house. It's not necessarily supposed to in all elements.
Right.
So eliminating it would, I agree.
I think that's from the old.
Right. But you see how this is more elongated. I know it's because of the printing. But when you look at that and you study your house, these dimensions make more sense when you study the house than what you see here. You've got this hat, so to speak, put on, and I believe this is the problem. And all the architectural details of the house do not have to be brought into the garage.
Don't you think with the change of shingle, though, below the fish scale on the top, that would change?
So if let's get a shot of the house. I had a picture of the house. Okay. So you see
So we have
these-
fish scale, clapboard.
Correct. So your flare,
Mm-hmm.
the size of the flare here works well with the house because of the overall height. And you can see where your flare goes from here to here, where you're much narrower.
So looking at two windows.
Well, definitely the two windows. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that's all right.
Because it will help draw these two together.
Maybe just get rid of the band and just do the change in shingle.
Right, this belt doesn't have to exist.
Okay.
It's,
So the two windows, I see what you're saying. Gap increases.
right.
This was all fish.
Yeah. Yeah, and either this is brought down to here or...
4 inches.
Correct. you've created all these layers in a much shorter height than what you have here on the house.
Don't you think the simplest thing would be to just shh and just do this as one
Perhaps,
type
yeah.
and that the other?
Correct.
Because moving this down is going to affect, you know,
Yes, right.
this-
You
this-
need the knee wall
the-
height.
yeah.
Correct. You need the knee wall height.
Your room would shrink.
6
6
inches.
inches.
Yeah, something like that.
Because your garage has to
So
be a
is this
certain height.
all going to be fish scale here?
Or would that be the clapboard?
That would clapboard.
Okay.
It's broken.
Which, you know, is a simpler treatment because it's a garage.
Yep.
So the structure's the same, the windows are too, everything's okay, well, I don't know, I shouldn't say that, you guys might have questions. But I could eliminate that band and just do clapboard.
Right.
It's a trim detail.
Correct. You've got, these are all wood windows.
Yeah.
SDLs.
Simulated?
Asphalt roof.
Yep. Probably the second color, because notice how there's two different asphalt roofs up there?
Okay,
I
yeah.
would assume that that back roof looks newer, looks architectural, front roof looks older. I would propose the second color, looks like cobblestone gray.
Just me?
No, I was
Anyone
listening.
else?
You sat over there with the drawings, so
Oh, yeah. Have you seen?
what did you say?
I'm sorry. My proposal is to, the house has the height, so you can pull off all these different layerings, whereas this garage doesn't have that height. We don't want it to have that height. So eliminating this bell, you're bringing the clapboard up. You can still have the shelf, and going with the two windows to help tie them together with the house, rather than the larger single. So this detail is gone.
What does that do to the height from here to here?
Right, well, this
That
would all,
height becomes,
this would all be the same material.
that becomes 12 feet.
Yes. Yeah, perhaps you can bring this down a little bit. They have quite a bit of space between the existing shelf and the sill. Yeah. Monica.
I heard you.
Bring the shelf down a little bit so you have more distance between the shelf and the windowsill
Okay.
of the second floor. So then you don't have 12 feet of clapboard.
Actually, just you're getting that little bit more gap between the windowsill and that.
Right.
You want to see some drawings on all that?
Yes, please.
Okay. And maybe some window options with a little bit more of the vertical type of
I
windows.
think that the double window is fine.
Yep, two,
That, the size of that is,
I'm okay with a double window. I heard a couple others.
yep, two.
Yep.
and so that, I think the size is appropriate.
And the verticality of the doors on that, the one with the two windows, seems appealing.
Yes. Rather than the
Yeah.
divided, the lights?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is it that we need Monica to do?
I think she's going to provide some new drawings with what Ben is suggesting here, correct? Just to make sure that we have the,
This level of detail is excellent. If we could see it without the belt and the bell, and you'll have to do a study on how you want to handle the shelf, bringing the shelf further down from the sill, so you've basically broken up that 12 feet of height.
Okay.
So thus far, you have voted, you've approved demolition of the existing garage and the back porch for that. Okay. And so we will continue this to next month?
With just our conversation here, would that be enough to go off the drawings that we have?
To do a foundation to start.
Oh, so a certificate of appropriateness for foundation?
And so, could we just have a verbal as to, instead of going through and spending hundreds more dollars on plans, maybe we'll get...
Approved foundations before?
We've approved foundations before, yes. We do need to have, whatever the final plan is, you will need it for the building department anyway, so it's not just...
Oh, no, I understand.
Okay?
They can get a foundation-only approval from the
Yes.
building department.
Well, I mean, we need to sign off on it, too.
Right.
The size wouldn't be changing.
So, with your suggestions, do you see any change to the footprint of this?
I don't see the foundation
So do you
changing.
think we have the dimensions right, the scale right on this garage to go forward?
Yes?
I mean, so you don't see anything changing with the roof pitches or anything like that?
Not that would affect the foundation. There is the left elevation, which shows a stepped foundation, that the others should take a look at. Well, that's because of the grade.
Would you like confirmation on the roof pitches for the main house? Is that something that we need?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. All right.
The cross cable, are you okay with the height of where that cross cable is as it relates to the end? So where the cross comes over here, and the height difference here?
Talking from the ridge.
Yeah, from the ridge? Or are we not even going that far at this point?
Are you looking to see them at the same height?
No, on the contrary. I just want to make sure that we have enough of a difference that it actually looks like it's submissive to the front of the garage.
Okay, so
and
you're-
not as dominant as it appear on this drawing. I agree that that drawing makes it look different, but this is really hard to look at.
Right. Right. So your suggestion is lowering the ridge of the cross?
That is correct.
Yeah.
I looked at that, to me that comes up, and maybe it's because of the light or something else, it doesn't look like a whole lot more than 6 inches.
Yeah, I would agree.
Although that's going to change the pitch, right? That's going to drop it, because I think that pitch is already somewhat shallow
And
as an
then-
8 and 12.
Then therefore, an argument for foundation shouldn't go forward.
Well, it's the length is 30, right? So when you start dropping this down, that ridge, it's going to flatten it out, which is, and what we see on the main house has got a lot more angularity to it. So, that's what we're up against with a.
And the cross gable on the other side of the house is clear to see that it's just slightly below the ridge. So it's not that, I understand lowering the cross gable off the ridge, but if the main house cross gables are just slightly below the ridge, and this is slightly below the ridge, I don't see that lowering them another foot is going to make it any more appealing with this house. This particular house already has cross gables that are very close to the ridge, and these are below the ridge.
What do you think is the most accurate visual drawing or picture we should be looking at here? This.
The architectural plans. Well, the architectural plans are, yeah.
The large format.
So this is already 8. This is going to go.
Even more shallow.
Yeah, so I don't think we want to do that.
No.
And this is going to pick up the pitch of the main house at 1012, correct?
Right.
So we want to keep that, 'cause that's the visual that we see from the street. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
do it, it just gets out of proportion.
Dropping this down makes this, this
The
12.
The opposite side of the house, the turret side, there's a
This
side
makes
view of
this-
the house.
flatter, more squat, which I don't think we want to do.
Appealing.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's just because the length of this is 30, and this is, I think, 25.
Oh, wait, there it is. See, here's the cross gable coming into the roof line. That's clearly really close to the ridge.
Well, that's, the one goes, this is 30.
It is.
Instead, they said 2 feet on each end or a foot.
You could.
Do you see this example here on the house? How close that ridge line, that cross gable is to the ridge? So if that's how the house is, what would be the purpose of lowering it on the garage?
So you've got a height on the, you have height on the house.
Right.
And you don't have that height on the garage.
But you're
So
going to feel like it's a lot taller when the band comes off.
that may help. That may help. But that we'd have to see.
Right, and so, I mean, I'm perfectly willing to lower, but that still is not going to change the foundation.
Well, your foundation becomes a problem if you do lower that cross gable, then it's going to be, the pitch is going to become less.
But I would
And
think
flatter.
that, I would think you're only suggesting a few inches. I mean, you're not suggesting a foot or something.
Well, I'd have to,
Oh, okay.
But if you took a few inches off of where you are currently?
Right, a few inches, but a few inches is not going to substantially change a pitch on a cross gable. Do you agree with that or disagree with that, you guys?
Agree.
Agreed.
The only thing with the foundation, Monica, is if, let's say we get these drawings and we feel like this is, it's still too flat from the side, and what Tomas is saying is maybe you want this garage to be something like 28 feet, in length. You can pick the pitch back up again, and I just feel like there's some moving parts here with going ahead with a foundation at this point. I mean, that's just, I just want to be careful.
Can we ask what the treatment of on the proposed left elevation, we see that stair step foundation, is
Yeah.
that going to be visible from Main Street? Is that going to be, what's the treatment of that? That's not going to be a concrete?
Well, if there's an area that needs to be veneered in the stone, it would match the rock wall to the right-hand side. It wouldn't be looking
Just like
that.
concrete.
But in regards to, can you see it from Main Street? I mean, I think that the PowerPoint showing from the hill, when you're standing at the bell tower or anywhere else, you can't even see that garage. You're not going to see that low side, but, the Sprangers would obviously
We'll do
make that
whatever
work.
looks best once we're at that point. So it looks, it's appealing. Do whatever looks most natural.
Right, I imagine you would want it to look nice too, right?
And it shows it with no plantings, no vegetations. If that particular hill, there's tons of kind of high brush rolling
Right,
down.
I was just,
Yeah.
couldn't tell what the treatment was.
Okay. You guys want to continue this at this point? Back with some drawings?
have we given Monica everything she needs? Monica?
I think so. You're not looking for
You
a
have some
substantial,
You have some clarity from Tomas?
yeah, I do, but
Okay.
I'm thinking just a little bit.
And is it possible to get drawings that are not as distorted?
Well, I'll do,
Even if they're-
we talked about that on the last one, the 8x11s.
Yeah. These are really
No.
nice.
8 by 17. You want 12 of those?
I can't hold those out in my kitchen.
But
11 by 17 by 17.
This is the builder in me, I'm sorry. But, yeah, anything in proportion
Sure.
is what we need,
Right.
with a scale.
Right, well, that's why I'm trying to bring the big plans, I'm trying to print 12 copies so that you all have a packet, and we're trying to do the PowerPoint, I mean,
I can't speak for the others, but Ben loves these.
okay.
What's the date of our next meeting, Andrew?
It is April the 12th.
Okay. And was there no point in approving a foundation footprint? It sounded-
I think there's some concern, I think that's an accurate concern, Hans, about if this cross gable gets lowered, the foundation you wouldn't want the foundation in, necessarily.
But I won't do this project if I can't get those dimensions. So if I can't make it 24 by 30, then this proposed garage doesn't work for us and our needs. We have a pretty specific idea of how we want it. So we tried 28 early on, and it just wasn't, the dimensions
And we
didn't
feel
work.
like we've moved it forward so much from where we originally planned to. You know, I understand the concerns about the facade and the shelf, and definitely do, yeah, I agree, a drawing of that. But otherwise, we've wiggled a lot with this project and changed our vision substantially. You know, we want to keep with the character of the house. Obviously, we live on Main Street. We want it to be beautiful. We're not trying to do anything that is, you know, outside of the, you know, your vision for Hingham as well as ours.
I just think we're really close, and we just would like to kind of see it. Is there a vote for this? Do we need to go through and redraw the simple detail?
I think you should go through and redraw it, because you're going to need to anyways for the building department. If you want to break ground, start with the demo on the main garage, you can do that now, and then we'll get together next time, and hopefully you'll be all set from there. I'm just a little reluctant to take a straw vote with what we have right now. I want to make sure that we're giving you accurate guidance and have a firm vote for you, just in case something changes.
Well, how do you feel if we keep with these dimensions? Change, so next time we would just be changing the facade with the shelf.
I think if you just show that, I think you'll be in pretty good shape. But that's just me. That's just from me. I don't know how the others feel.
What do the rest of you feel like with that? If we just show a different facade?
Yeah, I think Ben's main concerns were facade related. Tomas is looking for a few inches off of the cross gable. I don't hear.
Which means that I would also like to see a drawing of the side of the right or the left side of the garage. I mean, I understand that if you're looking at it from the right, you have to be in your neighbor's yard to look at it, but from the left, coming from downtown, you would definitely be able to like see that even if it wasn't an angle. So I would like to see that drawing as well.
I don't think you can see it from our picture.
That was the drawing, that was the, that was the picture that he showed on the PowerPoint from standing
At the 23
You
or
can't see it.
24 inches are going to be below that?
Yeah, you
completely?
can't see it.
We can, I don't know. As is.
Can you go back a picture?
See how you can't even see the back of the house. You won't be able to see it. In between the bell tower and their house. And I know it doesn't matter about the season, but that's in the dead of winter, you still
And
can't see it.
the earlier picture that was on an angle, slightly looking down the driveway, but slightly on an angle?
Probably, yeah.
Any other changes, suggestions from Monica? Okay, I think if you can just come back with those,
Okay,
that'd be great.
okay. So if I'm gonna come back with those, and I don't really need to lower the cross gable, or I lower it by a couple of inches, do I really have to change it? Will I ever have to change the foundation? Probably not. I mean, is it unreasonable for them to wanna start on the foundation if we're not gonna be able to see the cross gable, and we're gonna come back with a facade change in the front?
Or could we submit our facade change just to the historical office?
So we need to have a vote on it, and in order to have a vote, we need to have an open meeting. So the only way to have an open meeting is to have it in this forum, so we can all discuss. So hopefully you're amenable to coming back on the 12th of April.
Yes.
Just one question. On the 12th of April, will you need these again, or just the picture of them?
I just think the drawings, updated drawings for the changes that we're suggesting.
Okay. So you think you would have needed an additional PowerPoint?
An absolute window on the foundation? Is that-
We've been out to the property, we've seen it. We don't need to, we don't need additional visuals. Just
Hans, who's voting today?
voting?
Who's the voting?
Thomas, and Ronnie, and Hans, and Virginia, and Mike.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next up we have Heidi's here with Clark Road. How much space do you need?
You guys.
Yeah, right there is fine.
Submitted that. Let's see,
The application,
It's beefy.
yeah, I'm going to double check the,
Do you want her to sign it just in case? Pass around, they're very sharp.
Yes.
So you have to be really careful.
yeah, and then I'll make a copy for you.
So don't cut ourselves.
All right, I know you're signing now.
Beautiful stuff.
With the dates of your meeting.
And I have large drawings.
Oh, thank you. And so which color roof would they be going with?
So we wanted to show you these samples. I had these made by Consult Roofing, and we're open to either. This is the red copper with a double lock. This is lead-coated copper with a double lock. This is a pre-manufactured one, which we don't like as much. We prefer these. And we also, this is actually more historically accurate, but we like both of them. They've changed the chemical makeup of copper. It no longer turns the green patina. It does that nice kind of dullish brown. And he said this would gray up. You'd lose the sheen once it's exposed outside. And then this, I just brought this as a sample. We have wood as well as aluminum gutters on the house. So we were proposing using this on the front. This is a profile that matches wood and is lead-coated copper, so I can paint it. But it has twice as much capacity inside. So it's so much more functional than an actual wood. Because I don't know if you've ever tried to clean a wood gutter. Like inside there's this much versus this. So I just thought this was a great solution, especially on the front of the home. So you all should have the 11 by 17 studies. These are the larger 24 by 36. They match what we dropped off. So just to recap, thank you all who were able to come out Saturday to see the home. This is a beautiful Queen Anne stick-style house with incredible detail. And the Studebakers really want to mimic the detail with the additions and make the additions appear as this is what the doctor who originally built this home would have added to the house if he had 4 children. And so this shows, this is the front of the home. So if you look at your drawings, this is Main Street. Main Street does slope, so this, I'm in the yard when we took this. But these are the exact details with these beautiful brackets, these corbels, and then this piece here that we're copying at the side entrance. And then these details with this beautiful bracket is what we're copying on the large dormers. This shows Clark Road elevation. So on one of your first prints, per what we discussed, we were able to change the pitch of the kind of the shed roof between our new small gable and the large one, so I can get it below. So it's a 3.5, it was a 4. So you won't see that funky little corner. And I spoke with Mike Clancy, building inspector, and we'll just brace ice and water shield the whole thing. He was fine with it. So that was good. So I really like that detail. So that's what changed on that front elevation. And so this is where we're mimicking those gable details from the front entry to the side entry. One comment that came up at the site visit was the material for the side gable entry. Now, we had shown asphalt, but someone asked if and the Studebakers would consider the copper. And we thought that might be a great solution. So if that's something that makes sense, I can show you in the next. So that's existing. So here, that could be copper, which could be really nice, because then it would mimic what we're doing, whether we do just the mudroom, and or the breezeway. We thought that would be a really nice way to pull the elevation on Clark Road towards the side. So we'd love the board's opinion on that. We're open to both. So this next drawing and the one after it are the elevation studies we discussed to the side. So on this one, my original proposal was I was literally mimicking the large gable that's on the front and the rear of the house. This house has such beautiful detail with the brackets and the fascia board over the second floor. My goal was to mimic all that. We talked about, was there a possibility of lowering that gable? It's a real issue with the Studebakers because there's so little room up in that attic, and they wanted to make that a bedroom. The only way I could make it work was on this elevation. I was able to drop it 6 inches, but in doing that, I reduced my bracket and soffit on where the plate height and the roof meet. And to me, this house is all about the details, and I love that oversized soffit with the bracket. It almost looks stubby at that point. And my whole goal was to mimic the beautiful details that are on the front and back of the house. So that's what this elevation shows. Your next page, I tried the 10-12. To me, it's starting to look craftsman style. It's just the 10-12 is the wrong pitch. So here's the 10-12. It's just looking squat, and that I put in red, I believe, in your small packets. It's not a usable room. So the whole point of the addition was to get a bedroom for their 2 daughters up there. So in our mind, that really was not feasible. It was worth looking at, but I think the 10-12 is inappropriate. And then the other option, this shows the rear elevation. So again, that beautiful front gable pulls through the home, is on the back, with the 2 windows up in the attic, and that beautiful kind of, I call it a fascia detail that's over the 3 second-floor windows. So those were all the details that I was mimicking. This you can't see from the street, but now you can see, there's an existing dormer that faces Main Street that matches the ridge height of this gable. And so we're bringing that line straight through with our gable. And then we mimic this, I call it a doghouse dormer, with this one in the girls' bedroom. And then this is our mudroom and kitchen addition that you won't see from the street, but that's where we wrapped the metal roof. And then the last one we talked about was, can we look at some elevation studies for the garage? So this is the existing garage that we did deem is not nearly as old as we originally had thought. There's stamped joists in there, and it's really not an old structure. So on your last page, we have 3 different roof line proposals. The top left is the one we originally proposed, where I've got a 10-foot plate height, and I've got the 12-12 roof pitch. The bottom one completely below it is a 9-foot plate height again. I think it's starting to look too squat. And then the one on the far right is the 10-12. And again, I just don't like the look of the 10-12. To me, it's more craftsman, and it's not speaking to the original home. When we were at the site, I have a few more. I found a wonderful local wood garage door distributor called Garage Headquarters, and I much prefer working with a local company. And this, we're open. The beauty of these companies, you can combine any glass with any panel at the bottom. So we were always looking at the 412. There are a few more. So 4 lights across the top by the 2. Sorry, that's all I have. And we're open to any panel at the bottom. What the 2 panel samples that I had, one was the V-groove and one was the shiplap. I think we're open to either one, whichever the board thinks is more appropriate. We thought was just a really nice door. So this is all wood exterior, but it is an insulated door, which was nice. It's a nice detail. This is just if anyone wants to look at the specs on the pre-manufactured. I just don't like it. I think as reviewed, it looks too commercial. But we just wanted to look at what that option would look like.
I really want to see that.
So those are the studies, and we'd love to hear what the board has to say, and then we'd love to talk colors. Just quickly describe the colors. We love what's on Hans' house, which is the Quincy granite for the field color, black shutters, and then the Jewett white for the trim, which is cut a little bit. And so we have a full-scale model. And so those are the colors we'd like to use for the house. So those are the elevation studies that we developed for the meeting.
Thank you, Heidi.
A thought.
Oh, it was great to come out and see the house last weekend. And
Thank you for coming. It was a nice day.
good. Okay, questions from the audience? Good. All right. Open it up. Discussion. What do you guys think?
Heidi, thank you for the various studies and options.
Yeah, I think it was helpful for everybody because I think it's important to make the right decision.
Yeah.
Totally.
And for me, the Clark Road elevation, that's great, that you can get that pitch down. And
Yeah, I think that looked really nice.
I even noticed over the side entry there that fixed pane has got some shingles above it, rather than the expanded trim. I think that's a nice detail to show that,
Yeah,
to bring
we
the shingles up.
simplified that. So that was the other issue. With that little portion that we were talking about, could we lower that?
Right.
That is where, what Ben and I are talking about is this little portion of the roof right here. And that is actually, it's right here, it's actually where the original floor joists for the attic are sitting on the wall. Because at one point we looked at lowering it, but then I'm cutting the original structure. It didn't make sense once we realized what that was. But as you said, if I just shingle right there.
Right.
And I love the detail of these, overhanging soffits. And I think having that, if this is that granite gray and this is the Jewett white, it'll pop more, which will be really nice. And then we lowered, this roof. So it just, because it'll be the same roof material as above, it'll just disappear. So that was our goal for that portion of the roof.
Right. Then you have elevations, side elevations with the various roof pitches.
The roof pitch doesn't change on the first one, I just lowered it, but what I don't like is I changed the soffit.
Right, so they're
So to me, it looks
slightly shorter.
stubby, yeah. So I
Right.
lose that beautiful detail, which makes this a Queen Anne stick-style home. And you know, it's so hard to get people to do large overhangs these days. They're expensive, but they're beautiful. And I think that's what this home is about, are these beautiful details that we don't want to lose.
There's an elegance of it, too.
There is.
I'm okay with the shorter soffit, and it's because it's an addition. So you see the main body of the house, that's what we try to do. We need to see what the original house looked like before the additions.
So one question I had, I lowered it 6 inches. Can I do 3 inches? And get a little tiny bit more soffit. It will still be lower, but I'm just, every inch, I'm losing space that makes this a practical room inside.
Then you're a ridge cap, just a ridge cap differential. It looks like a mistake.
I'm not
You're
going to do
too
a ridge
close.
cap. I'm going to do, I'm going to icing the roof. But
Okay,
I'm not
so
going to
you'll-
have a soffit then.
Okay.
So I know the Studebakers were really concerned of just losing the height inside, because that room is very long if you look at the second floor, and we really wanted it to be a bedroom. So if I can delineate it even 3 inches,
I mean, part of our intention is to not make it look like an addition. We want it to make, so it's consistent with the other elements of the house. And so like Heidi was mentioning, the other gables on the front and the back, this tucks in and lines up completely with that, both in appearance on the facade, but also on the roof line.
Right.
It works well for the third floor in terms of space, but also optically, it doesn't make it look like an addition. It makes it look like a cohesive structure and a cohesive house. And that's kind of one of the guiding principles we've been working with from the outset.
Okay. How does the 3 inches help you?
well, I was just saying if we absolutely,
For ceiling height?
yeah, I'm still going to lose
Nothing to
3
do with the
inches.
eave detail?
Well, the eave will get longer.
Right.
So it won't be as stubby. And, you know, I mean, our first choice is we really want to mimic that beautiful gable detail to a T. And that was our goal. And on the Main Street elevation, the secondary dormer, that ridge lines up with the main ridge. So we feel like we're following the principles that are already on this home. And I understand completely the board's reasoning on most projects when we drop at the 6 inches, but this one has such beautiful detail that we're mimicking. You know, I don't want to lose any of that detail by dropping that, where I think, you know, our eyes and ourselves we're closer to the plate height and these soffits, and that's the details that we're going to appreciate. I'm not sure if any of us are going to appreciate more on this house that we lowered that ridge, where I'm mimicking what's already there, that relationship. And I just love these details. Like these are the details that we're losing in the 21st century. And the Studebakers are willing to spend the money to mimic these details on these additions. And to me, that is just really important. And that's just, I'm thrilled that they're willing to do it. It's hard to find people who are.
I think we usually when we have these additions, we try to differentiate, as you know.
No, I understand it.
The rest. I think, however, there are certain instances where, you know, it doesn't necessarily make sense to do that. For instance, we had a project where there was, you know, trying to add a mansard roof to another mansard roof, trying to lower those, it just didn't make sense in that situation. And I think with this one, you know, what you lose by lowering that 6 inches, I think is more critical, and I think keeping it, aligning those ridge heights, and being able to keep those original details for this addition, I think, for me, seems a little more appropriate because of the unique qualities of this house.
That's how I feel. I completely agree with the board that I do prefer to lower a submissive addition. But I think with this home, with all this beautiful detail, you know, I want that to be the prominent, you know, elevation details, not, I don't think anyone walking down the street is going to notice that we lowered it to 6 inches, where they might notice that the soffit looks stubby. And to me, that's really important on a house that has such unique details.
Good.
I didn't know if you were,
I
Seemed like you
figured
had some
we'd
more
have,
comments.
yeah, I do, but I figured could we come back to the garage after discussion of the,
Yeah.
is that okay?
Yeah. Gentlemen?
I was trying to get comfortable with the breezeway. Over the past few weeks, I've been driving around looking for examples of where breezeways have been put in. There is one across the street, but I felt it seemed out of character, and that's the only thing I don't like about the proposal at the moment. And I like the 12 over 12 garage, but the breezeway feels out of character with.
I think it has a practical reasoning. And looking at the one across the street where that was one of my projects.
Right.
Full disclosure, everyone here knows.
Yep.
But also, you know, we had screens there because they wanted to really create a courtyard. So it does have a different feel. I think this will have a lighter feel because we're matching those simple square columns that are on the house, and it has a practical function for a
Oh, I
family with
definitely
4
see the
children.
practical function, yeah.
So here, that's really why it's there.
Right. No,
We tried to keep
absolutely
the relatively low pitch.
sympathetic with the
Yeah,
practical
we tried to
function.
keep it as simple as we could and as translucent as you can, so we don't have the screen panels. We didn't want a fence, we just wanted cover. And that was really, I think, the practical nature of that detail.
I would echo what Justin just said. I think you captured the details of the house beautiful. I think the addition you're looking to put on is you did a great job here. So my only hurdle with the project as it stands and when I'm looking at it is the connector. Because I feel that it becomes a very slippery slope that we get into. One thing is a connector, then you put a sign on it, and what happens 5 years down the road, and so on and so forth. So the connector, I have an issue with that. The rest of it, I think is beautiful. So that's sort of my only comment.
Ronnie?
We're willing to remove the breezeway.
It just, when you look at it from a mass perspective, it's certainly, the whole house and everything else, you look at the whole thing, it becomes connected. And
It really was a practical item. I agree with you.
I understand, it's
Yeah.
just, looking at a mass and a scale, it just becomes a whole different feel
Sure.
once it becomes connected.
I think it changes the
Painters are willing
character.
to eliminate that. I mean, it was a practical format, but really, it's the details of the house, that's the priority here.
Yeah, and I think the details are beautiful. I think you captured them beautiful, so,
Thank you.
and the scale and the mass of the rest of it, I don't have an issue with whatsoever. I think it's very appropriate, but it's just that connector. Just makes the whole side of it very, very
We're
big,
willing
so,
to
yeah.
eliminate it.
Did you have a feel for the garage proposals?
I don't have a problem with the top proposal at all.
I think now, when
think-
you go to the site, the existing garage almost looks like a tick on a dog.
Yeah, I apologize, I wasn't there for the
I'm sorry you
site
missed it. But it's just, it's too small. And I realize I'm going larger, but I think the house warrants it. you know, if this were a carriage house to a house from the 1800s, the butler would have been living above it, and it would have had more bulk to it.
So is that one on the top?
The top is the original, yeah, the 12-12, and I've got the 10-foot weight, but I'm doing the nice deep soffit again. So we're mimicking that
Bracket
detail.
details and...
Yeah.
I love what you proposed for the home, and it really does capture, it seems to me, what the essence of the house from the beginning is. I would agree, the breezeway just seemed incongruous with, I understand as well why you want it, but it seems incongruous with the historical architecture that I presented.
And I think the garage will look better without it.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was a functional, but I think we're willing to eliminate it.
Heidi, the Clark Road elevations, you know, you got 12-12 pitches on your proposed, you know, I understand.
Sorry, the straight-on elevation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's very appropriate for the house. And you're picking up on the existing pitches, you know, the 12-12s, and I think with the on the side elevations, you know, I think again you're picking up on the 12-12 again, so you're carrying that all the way around. I understand what the commission's saying about dropping it, but I think when you drop it, you start to lose the other aspects of this.
And I think those are the details that are more important in this house
Yep.
than if asphalt and asphalt meet.
Right.
You know, I want those details. I don't want anyone to be able to tell what was original on this house and what was the addition, because that's what it's all about, are these, you know, really beautiful details that are so unique to this house.
Right. Now, if you do remove the walkway, does anything change with that 10-foot bump out on the addition? How are you going to, you know...
Well, if you look at the, I don't know if you have the plan from the original set we gave you.
Yep.
Those two columns are forward of that shingled wall and the door, so it'll just be a simple covered entry with the hip roof above.
Okay.
You know, the garage.
So right...
You know, it'll just be very simple.
So
Just-
right now you have this, so you'll just...
So it literally, like, so this is back,
Yep.
like 3 or 4 feet from these two columns. So
Okay.
eliminate all this and
Yep.
this, it'll just be a simple hip roof, and
Okay,
it gives me a side covered entry.
okay. I got you.
So that's the only attach.
All right.
So it'll just be very, very simple, and it's just be a hip.
And then what about the column right here? Would that disappear as well?
No, because these two columns are holding this up. This
So
is
these
4
two
feet.
columns would still stay because they would be
Yes.
holding up the existing
Exactly.
portion of it?
Yeah.
So it would be this one
This is
here?
gone and all of this is
and then
gone.
that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you could find it.
Yep, yep.
That's the step.
And Heidi, for me, on the garage, again, picking up the 12-12 pitch, in keeping with the main house, I think
it's important.
I think it's appropriate.
I had high hopes for 10-12. It just doesn't
Yeah,
work.
no, it does. It's too squat, and the lower plate height,
Just looks weird.
you lose the verticality there, and it's 22 and a half versus you pick up another foot. I think that foot's important. I think.
And then I think it will hold its presence more without that covered breezeway, you know, it's a secondary building now. And that's what it is meant to be.
So for me, the only changes, modifications would be, you know, this addition and that roof, that hip roof, you know, very simple.
Yeah, I can remove that.
So that's,
That's easy to do.
you guys.
Yeah, I just had one question in terms of the materials there. Is there a preference on the lead coated or the...
Your preference, lead coated or red copper? Can I see your paint chips?
Oh, my pictures, yeah.
We did bring paint chips.
Oh, we paint.
I don't know if everyone can.
Turn the lights up.
I mean, I'm wondering if the lead-coated copper, when it turns to dull brown, might look better.
Might just
I
look
think it's
great.
going to look better.
I think
It'll
this
look-
might be too gray.
It'll probably look, you won't have to paint it, it would look great.
Yeah, I would
You're
just
talking about the
do,
Pear copper,
I would do the red copper, yeah.
copper and let it brown.
And then
What do
it's
you
going
give
to turn
a
brown.
Yeah, it'll be the beautiful, it'll be, so the kitchen bay on your house in the rear, that's red copper.
yeah.
It'll look just like that. I think that will be beautiful, and it's historically accurate. And if the board likes the idea, we would do this on the front side entry that's on Clark Road, and then I think it will pull those two together. And I think, you know, with these paint chips, I think that would be beautiful, and then we'd do the black shutters. Any copper in your house?
Yes.
So
Just a
we can
small
all
bit.
go to Hans' house.
I have copper in mine too.
Good, we'll look at, what color is your
I'm trying to
house?
remember what it is, though.
What color?
I have the red one.
10 years
You
old.
do?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, great. I think the red would be beautiful.
I mean, all the shine is gone. It has like a nice dull,
Yeah, I think that
Brown
would
color.
be beautiful. So if that makes sense.
What about the gutters then? Are you gonna do copper gutters? Let those weather too?
Wanted to,
Well,
what?
Right now, we have wood on the front, but we have extruded aluminum in the back. I'd like to do copper in the front.
Yeah.
And we would do, because if copper is flowing into copper, I'm fine, I'm not going to have a reaction.
but then you
Extruded
wouldn't paint them.
Yeah, I would just copper it. I would have to use that, you know, painted if I didn't want a reaction, if I had a different type of material that would flow into it.
And if you do that, what about the downspouts then?
Well, just on the front, you do copper.
Okay.
And then we keep the back what they are. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to everybody?
What is it, material, Heidi, for the gutter?
The what?
The gutter material?
Well, this is a sample of lead-coated copper.
Okay.
'Cause it's paintable, and it's a mimic of a wood gutter profile, but I mean, you can see this is actually copper that they coated.
So you can get the same
I can
thing
do this same
in
thing
copper
in
without the
copper.
lead coat.
Yes.
So
So,
for the rear, do you need to make adjustments to the, do you need to change the? I'm
I
just
do like,
suggesting fiberglass.
yeah, in the back, we'd like to just do the fiberglass, and it would be painted the Jewett white. Because I do like to have it at the side entry, so that we don't have ice there. And that's what we have back there now, unless you want copper there.
Whatever you guys would prefer. I think it-
You're okay with copper in the
having a hard time
back?
visualizing it, you see it.
So, if you,
So it's not clear to me where's gonna be copper, and where's existing, what's getting replaced. I think if you can just kind of walk through that.
sure. The only place, so maybe if you look at your rear elevation and the Clark Road elevation. So the Clark Road elevation, so we've changed this roof at the side entry to be copper, and I would have copper gutters there. And then when you go around the corner, you know, the only other addition that I'm doing, you know, this will now be a nice clean, you know, hip roof. I'd like to put copper gutters below the copper roof. I think it will be beautiful, and it will blend really well. So it'll just be wrapping this.
So the only place you're gonna have the copper gutters is where you have the copper.
Exactly.
Everything else will be fiberglass.
Yes, which is what it is now.
Okay.
And I think that's where we want to highlight it. It's also, I mean, I prefer to have gutters at first floor roofs to catch water so I don't, you know, have ice on the walk. We have a lot of issues with gutters causing ice dams when we have, you know, snow, so a lot of times but we are going to have, on the new roofs, we will isonine the roof, so it'll remain cold. That should eliminate any dangers of ice dams. Does the board want to choose a garage door panel detail?
Is the preference in the, similar to the drawing, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll do anything in the panel. So the panel that I show in the drawing is just a solid panel, but I think, you know,
You've got glass.
I like, yeah, we do the glass, which is the 4/2, which is one of the options in the layout.
Yeah.
But on the panel, which I think is on the, hopefully it's on the glass. I prefer either the V-groove or the shiplap, and those were the two samples that they gave us. But I think we're completely flexible as to what the board prefers.
I don't know if you'll really tell from
I know.
the street.
You really can't. I mean, it's so far back.
Whatever you want.
But I just like the look of either one of those with the deep, you know, vertical line. And these will be painted black.
I would support the V group.
Yeah,
I think the
you could
V-groove,
do
you'll have more of a...
V-groove or
you'll see
shiplap.
more.
Yeah. More
Would be
definition.
great.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I like. I mean, if everyone likes that, we're happy with it.
And do you want lights or no lights?
We'd like the lights that we're showing. It's the 4/2, because the majority of the lights in the house, which we are matching, have 4 across the front. So we kind of liked that. We're on a larger scale, obviously, but, and I don't like when they get horizontally rectangular. I think it looks better when the glass is either vertical or square in a garage door, or it starts looking 70s.
Okay.
Got just a question for clarification here. So it seems as though this package dated the 10th is mainly regarding options that it sounds like we saw are kind of maybe beyond. So other than the options of the roof, is there anything in this package that's different from this package with the exception of this Clark Road elevation? Right? Because
No.
if we assume that, you know, the ridge
And the
height
breezeway's
stays
gone.
the same, the breezeway's gone, and you've got the 12/12 for the garage, all of that's in your original package?
Yes, yeah. And we've clarified material now.
Thanks.
And all our windows will be wood. They'll either be Marvin or the Colby simulated divided light. And they'll be the Jewett light cut.
Andrew, I just want to double check the paint that they're proposing, the Quincy granite, is that period for this house?
You know, what I was going to suggest is that if you look at the way the existing house is painted, you know, there's, the details are brought out by the shades.
I was wondering, do you want a third shade?
I think that would
I was
really-
wondering the same thing.
And the gray is fine.
No, I think we have
I think you have 3.
Let me hold up.
The darker brown.
Yeah,
Here's the brown.
You're going to pick up the black on the door, garage doors.
Yeah.
in the black shutters. But see, we have 3 colors.
Yeah, you have 3
But on the
colors.
front,
Are you going to have, the shutters are going to be black?
Black
see
and
how
trim.
these are a different color and these?
Oh, I see.
And I don't think you want those
Yeah, we
black.
want them black. I
That
was
would look
thinking
weird.
that you would white that color, but I guess, or
They
but
pop
then they do
more.
pop, yeah.
Well,
What's really interesting, we pulled some paint off your house, sorry. It was originally green.
It's been a lot of
And
colors.
then white, yeah. it was
Yeah,
color.
so there were all, but I like that there's one other, like, would you do a darker gray?
Yeah, that would
Would
be
you
nice.
be, I think that would be beautiful.
yeah, the lighter gray with the darker
There was a
gray.
color fieldstone, I think that was.
Yeah, there's a
gray.
beautiful gray,
Yeah, I think that's Here it is.
yeah, I thought that would look great with this
Yes.
side.
Yes.
Because that's too close to each other and that's too cold, I
And this is
think.
blue.
Yeah, I think that is a warmer, the Quincy granite is a warmer
Mm-hmm.
color, which we thought looked great with the Jewett.
Yep, and
So-
then the
so then-
fieldstone.
Yeah, the fieldstone was in.
Would you like that?
Yeah.
So, this is the fieldstone. So we would pop the brackets and the little
Nice.
swivel. So this is the color.
That would be very pretty.
I think that would look right.
Because it is a Queen Anne, and, you
Yeah.
know, stick style, but it's a Queen Anne.
Yeah, I think that's.
So. that
What's
would
the
be
lighter
nice.
color gray called?
Fieldstone.
Oh, no, the lighter one's Quincy.
The lighter one's Quincy.
So this is the one that Hans's home is?
That's Quincy?
Yes. And then this is the larger sample of the Jewett White, which we'll cut a little bit, just so we can get a little of the tan out of there. Is that, you cut yours a little bit, which I think will look nice. That looks great with the fieldstone.
Yeah, you don't want white.
No.
Just want to make it kind of a little more creamy.
Are there any issues, or do you want to discuss whether we can demolish the garage?
I had a look at it, it's what, 70s?
Yeah, stamped lumber. And it was a mishmash of all different things.
Just don't throw away the license plates.
No, we'll, no, we'll keep those.
Oh, yes.
Does the commission think we can move forward, but then maybe Heidi can just come back with a drawing of the entryway in the rear? Or are we comfortable just with kind of a sketch?
I think if you just resubmit those drawings for record.
I'd like to give you a whole approved set, that's what we've been doing now, so we all know.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine.
But still move forward tonight.
But still approve the project.
We don't have a contractor yet, we have a ways to go, so you'll have the drawings before we get anywhere close to a building permit.
And then we can just call out the walkway portion of the drawings.
Yep.
Because I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. but-
Yeah, no, I'm comfortable.
Okay,
I would be comfortable with that.
all right.
So we have Thomas through Mike.
Yeah, Thomas is going to be the, so Thomas, Ronnie, myself, Virginia, Mike. Okay, great. All right. Start with the motion?
Let's make Mike do it.
He's got all the notes.
I saw him.
I might be
Tim was taking a
rambling
lot of
on for a
notes.
few minutes. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 6 Clark Road for additions to the main house and new garage. Motion would include demolition of existing garage. Based on drawings originally dated January 18th, 2018, with the exception of the breezeway, which is to be eliminated. Additionally, the Clark Road elevation for approval is dated March 10th, 2018. Lower roofs, particularly on the Clark Road porch elevation in the rear addition, are to be standing seam red copper with red copper gutters. Gutters elsewhere to be fiberglass. Other portions of the new roof are to be asphalt to match existing. All siding and trim are wood. Exterior doors are wood. Windows are simulated divided wood windows. Colors, main bodies to be Quincy granite with trims and details to be either Jewett white or fieldstone.
And, oh, I see what you're saying. Got it.
And applicant to submit a revised set of drawings indicating elimination of connected breezeway.
Specify the garage option.
Or is that as is in your original?
As it is in the
As is.
So it's a 12
The
page.
garage in this
12.
package is 12, yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Great.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate all of your
Mike, we can just leave all the equipment there. That's what they told, we don't have to pack it up. Right. Heidi here.
That's your paint
Well-
sample.
Okay.
Oh, these,
You want any of these?
there's all this stuff.
You have one of these?
No.
Well, you can have it.
Hey, Tom, if you want to give me a call on that Jewett White, I can help you out with that. I think she's got our number, so, with the formula, so.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Heidi, is this yours by chance?
No. That's your,
No, we have one. We have ours here. Yeah. Oh, no, this
No,
one is
I
ours.
think I put it down by accident.
This one would be yours. Okay.
All right,
Sounds
Roger,
good.
thank you for waiting. Sorry we're a little bit late tonight. 597 Main Street. This is a project that we also had to go out and, we also saw over the weekend for some window reconfigurations and movement, so thanks for having us out. Good to see you. All right.
Okay, I think what we did here, I think, is to try to utilize as many of the existing wood windows as we could on the house. And I think we've got a situation where we've placed all of the existing good wood windows in the places where they can be seen. So this is the Main Street elevation, and up here is the existing elevation and the proposed. And so what we're proposing is we're adding one window to this row of three existing on the first floor. And that window is coming from the opposite side, which is in the dining room on the so it would be the west side of the house, which really can't be seen from anywhere. So that's this one right here. And then on the second floor, this window basically stays pretty much where it is. This is a smaller window at the moment. And so we're talking about taking a larger window again from the second floor on the west side and putting it here in this bedroom, so that it also lines up against the two smaller windows that are in the attic. Here and here, those stay pretty much as they are. And then up in the attic, this is probably the worst window in the house. It's actually falling apart. And what we're suggesting is that we take the window again from the west side attic, which is in reasonably good shape, and put that window here, so that all these windows on this side facing the street would be existing wood windows relocated, and basically this one, these two, and this one are all existing as they are. And then this one, this one, and this one would be relocated from the west elevation. Then you notice that all those windows on the front side were all 6/6. All the windows on this north side are 12/12. And so this is the configuration of the existing windows on this elevation. And what we're basically talking about doing is leaving all 5 of the windows on the first floor pretty much exactly as they are. And then, at one point, one of our original proposals had shown 2 windows on the front of the Main Street side and 1 on this north side. And because of the configuration of the number of windows, we felt that if we put that 1 window on this upper bedroom on the Main Street and actually 2 on the north side, we get the same number of windows, but we also have now the right number of existing 12/12 windows to be reused, repositioned on this north elevation. So these basically down on the first floor stay as they are. The 2 over the doorway would stay as they are. And then these 3 that are up here, and actually we had shown this window slightly off, and I think it's because when we took the dimensions that there was quite a bit of snow on the ground. This window is actually now directly above this one, so we wouldn't have to move this. This would stay right where it is. And then we would take these 2 right here and reposition them so that these 2 windows would be in the larger corner bedroom, and this window would then be in the smaller bedroom. So again, we have the 5 on the first floor and the 5 on the second floor, all using existing sash.
And actually, now you end up with an alignment here that you don't have today.
Yeah, you can see.
So the
You see
4 right there in that square would be aligned.
Correct.
What about the third window? Would that be aligned?
This one is actually moved over and it's sitting on top of this, but this is sort of connected with the shutter in the middle. So it is sitting right on top. So again, it's a little more organized than what's happening up here, which is what you see. Actually, I didn't bring that. The south elevation is the classic full colonial with those. It's in your packet. Yeah. So this is the classic look, and nothing is changing on this side, on the south side of that. These 5 up here and these 4 here are staying just as they are. And again, those are the 6/6 windows. No change here.
Roger, was the lack of symmetry of some of the windows in ongoing changes over time?
Yeah, it's very clear to see, especially when you look up in the attic, that this thing has had several major reconstructions.
3 different roof lines.
Yeah. So that, and you can actually see from some of the plaster work inside that windows had been sort of shifted over as walls were moved around. But I think that does organize a little bit better how that entire north face would look as when we're finished with this. And then over on the east side, so these 1, 2, 3, these are the 3 windows that are coming off of this west side, and going over to the east side on the same elevation. So this goes to the first floor living room, this goes to the second floor bedroom, and this goes to the attic. And they replace these 3 windows here with new sash. They would be wood. We've been using the Boston sash with storm and screen, which is everything else, the triple track storm and screen on the rest of the house. So that would be the same situation. We're also recommending that up in here, there's a 4-light and then a basically 9-light up here in the attic. And we're suggesting that we match the 4-light over here by taking this window out and putting in a 4-light to match this. Again, you can't see this anywhere, but this seemed to make, again, sort of organize the fenestration in the house a little bit better.
And we're adding that second window.
Yeah, and then we're adding, right now there's only one window, which is right here in the master bedroom. and we're putting in a second window in the master, so there'll be 2 windows on this face, and the master bed basically goes between the windows and then looks right at the fireplace, which is in that center core that goes up through the chimney. So I think, based on our conversations last time and sort of restructuring, I think we've made this better, more organized, and used existing sash. And there are certainly different ages to the windows. I think Ben had a pretty good look at all these. But I'm comfortable that the ones that we're moving around will take it. And we're getting rid of basically the worst. This one up here is in tough shape. This one is the one that's being moved around, and it's the one in the front that's actually the worst of all of them. So we're upgrading certainly the quality of the windows as we go around.
So just 2 windows, Roger, coming out and being demolished? Okay.
The one on the east side, attic, and the one on this west side, attic.
And Ben, I know you had a good chance to, you concur with that?
Yeah, the check rails, that's where the 2 windows meet, not a double hung when they're closed and locked. The check rails have split to such an extent, you would have to repair, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, beyond repair classification?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, a question, so you're adding a couple of new windows, right? So are those, what are those windows?
But using the Boston sash single pane with triple track storm to match all the rest of the house. All these windows here, all the ones on the existing front, all of these here, all have that triple track aluminum storm and screen. So we'd be matching exactly the same look as all the existing sash with the new ones on that on the west side.
Same with shutters, right?
How are you going to treat the clapboard when you remove, and how are you going to configure it? How are you going to kind of line it up? And I mean, obviously you have some new clapboard here that you got to install, and you got a lot of old clapboard in this house.
Yeah.
So what's the methodology there for that?
We actually, again, the clapboard looks to be in reasonably good shape in this house, and what we'd like to try to do where we can is to actually use existing clapboard. For instance, on this elevation here, where we are taking a window out and one that's going in directly above this, is to use clapboard from here. Because you'll be able to get, because of the casings, we'll have more clapboard to work with. But there's nothing, this has been redone a number of times, and I believe even if we have a situation where we have to get new, that we would prime all 6 sides and make sure that it's absolutely the same configuration as the existing material.
We had repaired some of the clapboard on the Main Street side when I first moved in 3 years ago, and one of the things that we actually learned was that they're not lined up, and there were various different size pieces put together, which was the way I guess it was constructed back then. They used everything, right? So I think the expectation is it'll look exactly like the way it is today if we reuse the clapboard.
I think that Ben actually said, we went up in the attic, they actually saw cut the rafters right about there, and then sistered rafters up to here. So there was something, either this was at one point only to here, which is what it looks like. Look at all the structure up above, or it was some sort of salt box. But it was very clear that this roof went down at this point, and there was an input right in here. So these windows right here on this gable end were centered in what was, and you can see the chimney. See where the chimney is here? Mm-hmm. This is a little unusual, so that it's very clear that there was a ridge that went right through the middle of where this chimney was and then came back on the side. Mm-hmm. So there's been some reconfiguration done.
here, but I think that, it's a very special house. This room in here with a big 7-foot wide fireplace, this is just, and the way that it's paneled and all the inside finish is just very special. And I think that we've talked about trying to maintain most of the interior finishes the way they are. As a matter of fact, there was some question about, there's a stairway that goes right up through this old entrance area, and there was some question about making some changes in the stairway, but we've discussed the fact that we want to leave the stair and all the newel posts and all the rails and balusters, because it is a switchback. It's a three-station stairway that goes up. Very nice detail that we're leaving in place while we make some interior changes to this end, not on the outside, but on the inside face up here.
Yeah. Well, there are not many 1650 houses left anywhere, so whatever you can do to preserve would be much appreciated. Any other questions?
No. That's it.
Okay.
I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, sort of like the kookiness of the windows, the way they look, but I also sort of feel that if this was 1650 and they needed to move a window to accommodate a new room, so I think it's pretty straightforward.
Well, when you look at this as being the sort of prime face of this house, and the sort of organization it's set here, it sort of sets a path, and so we've tried. It's not going to be exact, but at least there's a little more definition and structure to how the windows are placed.
And I can promise you, the residents are plenty kooky.
Right. Motion at this point? Ronnie, you want to?
Sure.
Go for it.
I will make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 597 Main Street for windows to be replaced and reused and purchased as outlined on the plans dated January 16th, 1918? 1918. 1618, why did I just say that? 2018.
With
And there is a
revision on 226.
Okay, and revision on 22618. New windows are to be Boston, single pane with storms. To match existing. Is that everything we talked about?
And just to specify the windows that are being removed, it is, which elevation is that?
It's on the west elevation of the ones, this one's coming out
so west
on the east elevation, the attic center window.
Yep.
And then on the second floor,
Okay.
the over four window are coming out.
Okay, 2 windows to be removed on A9 per the drawing.
And then there's one window on this window on the
A11.
west elevation.
And A11, upper right.
Attic window.
Attic window. Okay. Anything else we missed? Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
It'd be helpful would you like to keep the larger, or not necessary, because you've got everything.
Yeah,
in the
I
packet.
think Andrew's got the 11 by 17.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
Any other business? I know Andrew's not here, but at this point in time, let's like to conclude the meeting of the Historic Districts Commission for this evening. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Great, thank you very much.